No,
All right.
I'm going.
I have
How
to
do I
hit go
hide?
live.
Oh,
Come on, Instagram. There we go. Okay, excellent. So we are live. Welcome to Reading Between the Lines. I'm Sarah, and I have the absolute pleasure of being joined today by my dear friend Macarena. I am going to just read a quick intro about Macarena. But first, Macarena, hi, how are you?
great to be here. Thank you, Sarah. What a pleasure.
I really appreciate you being here. Macarena has had a lot of amazing media lately. She's had a billboard and she's been featured in Forbes. So let me tell you a little bit more about her. Macarena Luz Bianchi.
It's actually Bianchi.
Bianchi. Okay. So Macarena is a mindset coach. She's a speaker, podcast host. She is a publisher and an author at Spark Social Press. And she really understands the challenges of feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, and struggling with authentic self-expression. Drawing from her own experiences as a recovering workaholic, she really recognizes the impact of stress and self-doubt on our well-being. Macarena created the Lighthearted Living Formula. This is a framework that blends wonder, wellness, and wisdom to help others achieve sustainable balance and joy in their lives, which is something that we all need. And through her coaching, her VIP days and courses, she offers nourishing. I love this. I love that you put this nourishing mindset tools, which can be, gratitude practices to self-esteem makeovers, enabling individuals to express their own wonder, wellness, and wisdom without guilt or overwhelm. And really acting as a guiding force, Macarena empowers others to embark on a journey of self-discovery and fulfillment. So, with that amazing introduction, again, I want to congratulate you on your billboard that you had in Times Square and the Forbes article. So I wanted to ask you about telling us a little bit more about what was the topic that the article was about in Forbes.
One of the reoccurring themes that I talk with people is that inner work is necessary. It doesn't matter who you are or privilege or not, or levels of success. No one is spared the human experience. And so inner work is necessary, but it doesn't have to be a chore and it doesn't have to be unpleasant. So that's why I'm all about like the playfulness and all of that. So it was like, okay, if people have busy business people, specifically business women that are very, very
Right.
busy, let's say they have 5 minutes. What could they do in 5 minutes to make a difference in their life? So that's what that was about.
Oh, that's so good. Who doesn't need that? I also think for like with the holidays coming up, that is especially needed. So I'll be linking to that in the show notes for everybody if they want to check out some tips there from Macarena. Macarena also writes poetry, novels, and children's books. And most recently were the children's books. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about if you could tell us about those books, and we'll go from there.
Certainly. So lighthearted empowerment is a through line in everything, and being able to express yourself, ourselves, I think is really, really important. So that's kind of the idea behind the poetry books. So and I have them both for grown-ups and for kids, which is a lot of fun. So of course, with the grown-ups, we have other things like intimacy and happy anniversary and Valentine's love. Whereas kids, it's through the Grateful Giraffes that I had to rewrite some of those poems because at first they were like too advanced reading level.
Right.
The idea is that parents and kids read these together anyway. So it's really, I say the sweet spot is up until 3rd grade.
Okay.
Because the idea is to read them together. So the Grateful
And
Giraffes, there's 3
yeah,
of
go
them,
ahead.
Gift, Gail, and Gilbert. And they love expressing themselves. And we've got books on like, what is gratitude? That was the initial one, the first one, to Happy Halloween, Merry Christmas, for the love of mom, for the love of granddad, all of these things, grandpa, just for them to focus on how do we appreciate the important occasions and the important people in our lives.
I like that too. I have a little one and she's older now. She's 13. So I'm not quite so little, but when she was smaller, in the first grade, second grade, third grade era, I would ask her how her day was and she'd say, "Well, it wasn't so good because this happened at lunchtime." And then she would spiral. And so the rest of her day was ruined because of one thing. And I would try to get her to shift her attitude, like what could we be grateful about, or how could we make this a fully positive day just because one small thing was not so great. And so I like that these books are something that parents and children can talk about together to really understand what is that concept of gratitude, and to go into practicing it more than just something we say that we need to do, right?
And you nailed it. Gratitude creates an upward spiral. And so
Yeah.
in these are not just, there's always like the poem in bite sizes and then the full poem, but these are also activity books. So for the grown-ups, there's always journal pages at the end. And for the
Hmm.
kids, we've got always a gratitude section. So draw or list your appreciations around the topic of the book.
Yeah.
And then there's the coloring book. And then the last part is for them to finish the story or make it their own. So the point is to really like embody. I think implementation is so important in my
Yeah.
coaching and everything. So this was a way of how do we get the children to implement. And something very exciting I'm working on is a book of the month club for second graders, working with
I
the
love that.
books, which will be
Very cool.
bilingual.
I forgot to mention that because I did say that, because we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, where you went to a conference and they put you in the publishers section, and you were like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm just an author. Why am I here?" And they were saying, "Well, you have like over 25 books or something, and that something like that, right? And that which
Yes,
which
this
makes
was
you a
like a few
publisher."
years ago. I had like
Yeah.
16 books and I went to like, I'm like, I signed up for author row. I'm like, I'm an author. I'm going to be an author row. And they were like, how many books do you have? I'm like, at the time it was 16. Now I just did the math. It's like 56 or something. So,
Yeah.
so they said, no, you're a publisher. And like, I knew I was a publisher because, I have my imprint, but I didn't really get it. I was operating like an author. Then it was like, oh, that is correct. Oh, I am
And
that. It was
I
fun.
mention that because you are so prolific, but also all of these books are not just English, but also you can find them in Spanish. And I love that because it's, of course, more accessible to a lot of kids, especially even second graders, too, I suppose. That, at least here where I am in California, we have a lot of Spanish speaking families. And so those kind of books being in the library as well would be really helpful. Um, I wanted to ask you to explain a little bit more about why the concept of gratitude is so important to you. And was that something that you grew up with or that you learned at an early age? Or did you adopt that later?
Oh no, I wish I would have learned that at an early age. So gratitude provided the wonder for me to access wonder. It was the tool for me to access wonder. And
Yeah.
it so inspired me that I wrote a poem about it. And I never thought of myself as a poet. I thought of myself more of like, oh, if people need help copywriting or persuasive writing or even more technical stuff, that's how I saw myself. I didn't see myself as a poet. However, it was so beautiful. And it started with in my late 30s, no, excuse me, late 20s, I
Mhm.
went on like a full throttle personal development journey. So
Yeah.
I'm sure gratitude came to me. I don't even know exactly where, but what changed it, and this has served like my coaching style and my courses. I have the Common Clarity course coming up, and it's going to have like a similar structure. So
Mhm.
I played what I call the gratitude game. And I lived in California, and you know how most people had to commute, especially back then. So a friend of mine would purposely not answer the phone when we called each other in the morning and we'd say, we're going to play. And it'd be a rampage of appreciation. It'd be like, Happy Monday. I appreciate I got that, deadline in, I appreciate, my husband was in a bad mood, but I trust he's going to feel better by lunchtime. I appreciate. So it was like whatever was going on, we just, so it was like 2 or 3 minutes, depending
Right.
on how long we had. And it was just looking at everything. And a lot of it was like, okay, this is what's going on today. And when things didn't go the way I wanted them, I appreciated the solution.
Yeah.
So I did this every time I was in a car every morning. And before I knew it, it reprogrammed me. So even when I was
Wow.
talking to my dad, I'd be like, I appreciate I got together with my brother. So I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I just go with it. So it was really funny. Every time I was on the phone, I appreciate. It was really hilarious. And I noticed that I was able to find the bright side of whatever was going on. And it was because I put in the reps. I just played with this without any
Right.
pressure, without trying to achieve anything, just to like tune in and raise my vibration every day. And before I knew it, it made a huge impact. So much so that I wrote this poem about all the wonderful keys to gratitude and how it opens so much. And yet it's really a doorway. Gratitude is a
Right.
doorway, and choice is the key. Like that's the whole point
Choice
of the
is the key.
poem.
I love that phrase. Yeah. Really good. So now you also have a podcast about, well, it's called Magical Mindset and Lighthearted Empowerment, which is all about improving confidence and then lighthearted living. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. So it's called the Magical Mindset Podcast, and I have beautiful, magical conversations with people. And what it's been such a treat. It's been so much fun. And I've amazed myself how I can have magical conversations with anybody. Like even there's a cybersecurity guy.
Yes,
He happens to be
yes.
an author, so he's like amazing. But anyway, so it was really funny, like the discovery journey of being like, I can have a magical conversation with anybody. So it's been really fun to like almost like create the environment and then allow it to be what it is. And
Right,
so I talk about what I call magical mindset includes lighthearted living, set for success, and some of the other things like self lighthearted empowering things I talk about, kind of like the reoccurring themes. But
right.
depending on what the guest has, I never know where exactly it's going to lead. It's really about being in the moment and allowing the
Sure.
magic to happen. And it's been so much fun.
Oh, I love that. I was going to ask you if you had any very favorite guests that you've spoken to. So for anyone who's new to your podcast, if there's a particular episode that they should start with or listen into.
They're all super special. And the first two, it was really interesting. The first one was the shortest one, which is about playing, like how important it is to play.
Yeah.
And then the second one is about bringing in magic to the everyday life. And this was with an incredible uh, astrologer. But it's very, if we talk about how to
Cool.
really live magic, how to create, how to be open to magic in the everyday. So it's very practical, and we give a ton of tools. So they're very actionable steps. And so that the first one was the shortest, and then his was the longest. Since
Oh, wow.
then, so the first one was, I don't know, like 25 minutes, 25 minutes. His was over an hour. And now they're
Oh, yeah.
mostly around 45 minutes to an hour long. So those are the extremes, but that'll give you a really good sense of
Oh, I
what we
love
talk
that.
about.
Tell me a little bit, or just give me, if you can give one tip about bringing in more magic into your daily life, what would that be?
I love this question. And I realized recently that most people come to me with symptoms, problems at
Yeah.
work, problems at home, problems, all kinds of problems. But those are the symptoms. What's the question they're really asking is, how do I not be overwhelmed? How do I
Yeah.
stay present? And how do I prioritize? And funny enough, the wonder, wellness, and wisdom answer those questions. Tapping into those things within yourself. I think the first step is just acknowledging what
Yeah.
things that inspire wonder with you. And what's cool about the wonder, wellness, and wisdom is these are the full expression of mind, body, and spirit. So it's body
Yes.
is not enough. It's body fully expressed is wellness.
Yes.
And yes, there's physical, but there's also like how we sleep, how we rest, our mind, our state of mind, all those things are involved there. So the most important question I think people are asking is, how can I be present? So it really is, I think, slowing down, connecting to things like gratitude that allow you to feel good,
Yeah.
positive, or see things in a positive light. Uh, we have to acknowledge what's going on, and then, we can pivot or decide if we want to continue feeling that or,
Yeah.
handle it. So the gratitude does a lot of the stuff. So there's wonder. And then the wellness is connect to your body. How do you be present? Access your senses,
Yes.
breathe. I think breathing is really, really, really important. And
Yeah.
then I think if you are not overwhelmed because you're accessing your wonder, you're present because you're accessing your wellness, then it becomes much easier to make decisions and prioritize. But a lot of times people are asking, they're trying to make decisions and prioritize when they're not grounded, they're overwhelmed. It happened to me the other day. I was like, okay, I need to plan, da 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 da. And then I had a gut check and I realized I have no business making plans right now. First,
Yeah.
because usually my life is pretty magical. So when it's not, I ask myself a very simple question, which is, how can I take better care of myself?
Yes.
Because I understand that the magic in my life or that I'm experiencing is directly related to the quality of how I'm taking care of myself. And sometimes it's things like slowing down to feel
Yeah.
whatever's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. I relate to that so much because I have not been taking care of myself as well as I had been over the summer. Like I've regressed a little bit and I don't feel as good. And so I know that I need to move back into those great habits that I built over the summer. But I also wanted to just mention that I have spoken to like another friend of mine who is a acupuncturist, and she knows a lot about Chinese medicine, and she looks incredibly young for her age. And I've always asked her, like, what is your secret? And she said, having a sense of wonder and curiosity in life. That is what is going to keep you young. And so I love that for your coaching and for your podcast and also for your community. Like that's such a strong like foundation of the things that you're trying to have people embody and embrace. So that's really cool. Um, well, okay, tell me a little bit more too, because you have a community group, like a membership, I think, or how does that work? Because you have the Lighthearted Living Insiders community.
So I have, yeah, the Lighthearted Living Insiders right now. That is a free community.
Oh,
And there's a Facebook group. So there's different ways of communicating. Of course, they get my weekly whims, weekly mindset tips and things like
I love
this.
that.
And the community is going to come after the Common Clarity course
Okay.
because I also do private coaching. So that's like 12 weeks engagement. But I used to do like one-offs. And it was almost like, I called it almost like when people would come to me, they felt stuck. And I was almost
Yeah,
like an energetic surgeon. It was like, okay, we're going to handle whatever this is. So then they feel grounded, inspired, and can go live their glorious life. But I
absolutely.
found that, it's not enough just to go to your dental cleanups. You have to do your personal hygiene. You have to floss, you have to brush your teeth. So I realized that in some ways, people were wasting our sessions because I'd
Yeah,
rather do deeper work than the basics. So it
yeah,
came very, very clear because it was like the last several sessions. It was the same thing. It was like, you know, what does your morning look like? And it was nothing conscious about it. And again, it's not about, these things don't have to take a lot of time, but we all need systems, frameworks to tune in so we can be at our best. So that's when I realized I have to create the basics, which is, it's a 12-week course where, piece by piece, and it's very gentle. It's not about doing anything
radical
crazy,
shifting. Yeah.
like walking on coals, which I've done, and it does work. I have to say, it works very, very well, but it hurts. So I wanted to meet people where they're at, busy, mostly busy women like me. And how do we build something gently, but that's extremely effective? So similar to my gratitude practice, where before you know it, your life is transformed. Similar thing. So I do something called the metaphysical maintenance, and it's a visual meditation. It's a guided meditation, and it's really, really good, and it handles a lot of things. So we're going to teach this, step by step. So there's always going to be like a mini lesson, a very short lesson every morning. The whole point is to implement and embody these things. So there's going to be opportunities to practice during the day, and then reflection at night, which I think is really important. Just like, okay, what worked? How did it feel? All these things. So that's the, very simple structure, very similar to what the kids get, but adults need it too.
I do love that, because that does kind of all circle back into that we all need to be doing some sort of daily habit with this, with gratitude and this mindset, and just to making sure that we're more present. And so I think that's really, really incredible. Do you write every day, or do you write like when you feel inspired? Like how, as someone who has so many books, how do you do it? That how do you do it?
I love this question, and there's nuance. So there's different length projects.
Sure.
So I've always wanted to write, and I've been a filmmaker, so I've written screenplays. I've written nonfiction, but that was more my workaholic days, where I would not do anything for a week or two, but that's not sustainable. So I do have nonfiction things I want to write, like an urban fantasy called Magic in Miami. I've got it all, it's been building my whole life. However, the time that is required to do that has not presented itself. And, it's okay. So I figured out how to do little books. But
yes,
it took me a while to realize that writing was my talent. So I'm at a point in my career, it wasn't always like this. So, big caveat here. But whatever it is I need to write, I used to think like, what is the perfect conditions? And it doesn't matter. I just need to ask myself the right question, and I can sit down and write whatever needs to be written. It wasn't always like this, but I'm very grateful it is now. So do I write every day? It depends what's going on. I would love to clear more time to work on the bigger project. But I've also realized that in the author world, we call it writing sprints. Most people call it the Pomodoro method. So I have this awesome little timer thing, which works great.
Cute.
Because I realized I am not a victim of time. I'm a product of my focus. So when I try to organize based on time, sometimes it doesn't work out. I feel time is limitation. However, what I can accomplish when I focus is incredible. So I've learned how to work it. So I talk a lot about set for success. You have to figure out what works for you. Everybody's super unique, and we have to play with things to try it out. It's the same thing we do with our kids, right? We want to expose them to things and play with it so they can figure out what works for them. Nothing's changed. You have to play with things to figure out what works. So I am very, very grateful, where I used to think, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. If I don't, I used to hate being interrupted. I
Same. I
hated
cannot.
having to stop.
Yeah.
Now I can write when the kids are watching TV, my husband's, watching football. It doesn't matter. I just like, okay, what am I working on? And then I've learned how to organize myself. So,
Yeah.
The transitions are not painful. Again, I figured
Yes.
out how to set myself up to succeed when it comes to this.
That is so, so smart. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and probably your community and with your supervision, that's something that you could help people through. Because that's a big one for me. I don't have a door to my office. And so anybody who's walking by the kitchen or anything, by the front door is right here, the living room is right, all the things are here. I can get interrupted pretty easily, and it drives me nuts. But I do have some small systems in place, but it's not enough. Anyway, so that would
Well,
be
two
so
things I
helpful
want
for,
to say to that.
yeah,
Two things. One of them is, it is just since February that I attended an amazing author mastermind. And since then, I have what's called a focus group. So Mondays through Thursdays, 9 to 12, we get together on Discord. Hey, how you doing?
yeah,
Sometimes we have to talk. Sometimes we don't. What are you working on? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Great. Focus time. And at first I'm like, wow, you guys always are at your desk at 9. It is so hard for me to get to my desk at 9 in the morning. They're like, no, like if we didn't have this group thing, other
we
things
wouldn't
would
be.
get in the way. So that's
Yeah,
been incredibly helpful for me. And also, and I'm not like crazy about it. I do what I can. Sometimes things happen. I have to take the dog to
yeah,
the vet, whatever. Sometimes things happen. It's okay. But for the most part, Monday through Thursday is pretty sacred, my mornings. And then I've learned
yeah,
to schedule my podcasts and things after lunch. And then Fridays is the day I run around and do errands, because I discovered that in the pandemic that I wasted a lot of time driving around doing stuff. So that's helped a lot. And
yeah,
then having a family is really, I think, healthy for me, because even though, of course, sometimes they get on my nerves, and sometimes I'd rather work. But the truth is, if they weren't around, I would just work, and that's not good. So
same. Yeah,
lunch is sacred, dinner is sacred, breakfast is sacred. I don't work on weekends. I'm not available in the evenings. So it makes it
yeah,
so when I really looked at my time, it wasn't that much. So I had to figure out, okay, how do I use my time wisely? And
yeah.
it's taken 50 years. So here we are.
I know. I love though that you figured it out for yourself. My husband will sometimes say, it's like you're off of work and you're here, but mentally like you're not here. You're not present. You're still working. And so, or I'll sneak off after dinner back to my computer, and he was like, we got to set some boundaries. Like 5 o'clock is like, we're done. You're done with the computer, and the electronic devices are going to go away, and we're going to have some family time. I was like, okay, I could try to do this, and it's fine. And I've just created more boundaries for
And
myself to
he's
have that
right.
break. Yeah.
He's right. Like I think, power women, we find the right partners because they're like the voice of clarity. Like uh the workday ends, because I'm like,
Yeah.
the workday never ends. No, it really does. It really needs to
It
end.
has to. I'm always, oh, but there's one more thing. I just have to do one more thing. No, no more things. Like,
But thank God, like,
done.
so what I've done now is if I get an idea, I just write it in my notes. I make myself a note.
Yes.
Again, like the set myself up to succeed. I figured it out,
Yeah.
what I have leeways. And luckily, it's almost like filling the bank. I've been
Yeah.
I've been good in the workaholicness.
Yeah.
So if I say on a Saturday, I'm on a deadline for this podcast, I need an hour, he'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
no problem. But before it was like, pulling teeth, which was not healthy for either of us.
No, exactly. Well, I have one more question for you before we wrap up, which is what are some of your favorite authors or books that are fiction? And what do you admire about those works?
I love this question. And I had one thought about what we were talking about
Oh, yeah.
before to wrap that up is one of the things I try to do. Well, let me rephrase that language. One thing I'm committed to do is to be satisfied with what's in front of me
Yeah.
because I would suffer a lot. Like during the summer was hard because I was on focus. And then next thing you know, everybody's on like quasi vacation, but I didn't
Right.
transition very well. So it was very, very frustrating for me. And I was like, this is not sustainable and this is not fun. So I said, okay, well, forget about what I wish was happening. I'm going to
Yeah.
be present and enjoy and be satisfied with whatever's happening. So if I have, it happened the other day, my dog got hurt. And I was like, thank goodness I am flexible enough to be able to go take care of my puppy and go to sit at an ER, all morning.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm so glad I'm able to do
Yeah.
that. So anyway,
Yeah.
so
No,
being
I
satisfied
love
with this.
I think that's for me, that really touches like a heartstring to be satisfied with the present or what you currently have, in front of you or the current situation, and being satisfied with that is something that we can all practice. And I really like that. So
Yes,
that's
because
good.
like gratitude, I think is the first level. I think satisfaction and really
Yeah.
savoring and reveling is like the next phase of that. The full
Mm,
expression of gratitude is that.
that's so beautiful. I love that.
Okay,
Beautiful.
so books. I love books.
Yeah.
So I just to tell you my nerdiness at the gym, I will listen to nonfiction in audio
Okay.
just so that I feel like I know I'm supposed to be focused on my body, but it feels like such a waste of time just to
Do
be.
you Are you using Audible, or like how do you
I,
access your?
I do use Audible
Okay.
and I use my 1 a month credit and it's enough and it works. And then, I've got when I don't feel well, my go-to, Edwin, my husband knows, it's rare that I don't feel well, but every now
Yeah.
and then I'll get like a light sensitive migraine or something. So he knows
Yeah.
if I'm listening to Harry Potter on audio, I'm not well.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm the type of person that I can't, if I watch something, I have to watch it from beginning to end. I don't fall asleep in TV shows or movies. I
No.
need to close that loop. So
Yes.
because I've read these books and I've heard the audio before, I can, it's, it's, I can relax enough. I know what
Yeah.
happens, so then it doesn't matter. I can sleep through it and rest. So anyway, so my husband knows when that's going on, he's like, oh no, it's serious, like,
This is serious business.
what do you need,
I
honey? Like,
I know
I'm not
people
well.
who like they'll put on like Disney movies and they'll watch those in the background all the time, and I'm like, "Ugh, that's so boring." And for them that works because it's the same thing, like they know it, they're familiar. It's just soothing
It's
for them.
a comfort. Yeah, exactly. It's soothing. So at night, right before going to sleep, I always read a chapter, nonfiction chapter.
Yeah.
And there's two authors that I like a lot. Um, Chandel Levon
Mhm.
and um, oh my God, oh my God, what is her name?
I have to look up Shendel Levon, so hang on.
Okay, hold
Take
on,
your
because
time while I.
um, oh my God, Montero. Let me see, Montero. Megan Montero. Okay, Chandel
Oh,
Levon
yeah.
and Megan Montero. Okay, so they write urban fantasy. I love
Yes.
urban fantasy. That's my thing for fun.
Yeah.
And so Chandel has a book called the Coven series. And what's
Mhm.
cool is her coven has to do with the tarot cards. So the coven members represent a tarot card.
Oh, how
So
fun.
you can start with there, the Coven series for her. So she met Megan at a author conference, and they're soulmates. I am so glad they found each other. They're author besties, and they're great. And then they
Oh,
write some fun stuff. They have something called the Night Realm,
yes. I've
the Night
seen
Realm
like one of their,
together.
mhm,
And so I like their regular stories, but then they do these like
like
Hallmark
collaboration.
Hallmark style stories. So they have like Christmas, they have like 3 or 4 Christmas specials under the Night Realm. And then they just
Yeah.
have like their second Halloween one. And I love these books. They are so fun. And I've met these authors. We went on a trip to Salem a couple
No.
years back. Yeah. And then in one of those Christmas books, they have my name. They loved my name, so then they put it in the song, like the song in the book. I almost
Oh
died
my
when
God.
I read that. It was so
That
so
is so
anyway,
sweet.
they're great. They're great. They're beautiful introverts that I'm so happy found each other, you know. But I love their books. They both have great books on their own, but I
Yeah.
love it when they write together. It's even more fun. And these, this all they do is they write books. So Chandel has even like one about with the Greek mythology, and
Yeah.
there's no shortage of stuff. They have a ton of stuff. So I like it because it's fun. I like, there's a lot of characters, definitely like found family tropes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and badass badass characters, and
Love
then there's
that.
the magic. So anyway, and Chandel's a Florida girly too. I'm in Miami. She's in Palm Beach. So it's fun.
I am on Chandel's website right now, and her book covers are also beautiful. So I will have to check them out, both Megan and Chandel, more. So thank you for introducing me to them. But yeah, they sound really cool. So
Yeah, so
that's
I
fun.
just
I'll link.
finished because it's interesting, like the Coven series, it builds, it
Mhm.
builds and builds and builds. So I just finished one of those and it was kind of intense. So now I'm really happy I'm reading one of the fluffy holiday ones.
That sounds good too, though, because every once in a while, a good fluffy holiday one is just nice because there's so much. Again, for me anyway, there's a lot of stress around the holidays, and just that lightheartedness is fun to have. So for the
Amen. Yeah.
season. Okay, well, Macarena, thank you so much for joining me today. This was super fun. I know that you and I could chat books all day, so I appreciate your time, and I will link to all of the things that we talked about today once this is all uploaded. And again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Sarah. This was so much fun. Appreciate it.